Hello everyone, it's Farket here. In this video, I'm going to go over the range of every weapon in the game. And some of them are not weapons. But I thought I'd test them, because why the hell not? Now originally I did test this on cannibals that were caught in noose traps. But the cannibals kept swinging around in the noose trap, so they weren't actually a static object. And I kept killing them. And I thought, this will take me forever. And it was going to. But I thought, stuff this. I'm going to come up with a better method. I decided to go into creative mode, which gave me unlimited stamina. I think I said it right then. And I could just test the weapons without any problems. What I ended up doing was using a single pillar from a custom wall and just hitting that. I tried not to move the mouse around too much, but moving it's probably what led me to have to test it so much. I think I spent about 5 hours worth of testing. It was a nightmare. Though my opinion on range and why it's important is that it allows you to create distance between you and the enemy. And if you miss an attack, it gives the enemy more time to counterattack. And if you can't backpedal away or sidestep quick enough, you're going to get hit. It also increases the AoE, the area of effect, because the longer your range, the more you can hit. Now most of the weapons are pretty logical in what you would think would have longer range, but some are just weird, and I'll get to that. Some of the weapons actually have very similar range, though if one weapon hits more than the other, I will class that as having longer range, because it's actually hitting more often. Now this video was an absolute nightmare to make. The amount of testing I did and the inconsistencies I kept getting was absolutely painful. I can't stress how annoying it was to make this video. I've had it sitting for a good couple of weeks, but I just didn't know how to present it because it was just, by the end of it, I was just like, I'm so done with this. But I've got all the answers for you, but the footage is a little bit scattered. I ended up testing each weapon 4 times because I did keep getting inconsistencies, though I am 100% on all these weapons now. It just took a while and I nearly had to put myself in a mental hospital because it was that frustrating. Now I'm going to present at longest range to shortest range, because I would move forward and backwards and then switch weapons, and then whatever weapons didn't hit and the previous weapon did, then clearly the one before it had more range, if that makes sense. So let's get started. Now the upgraded spear has the longest range in the game, though I think its AoE would be terrible. The next one is the weak spear. Now the difference in range is very, very small, like unbelievably small. The next one surprisingly is the arm. I suppose it gives you an extra arm's length. It has shorter range than the weak spear by a fair bit. Now the next one is the katana. The katana has really long range, surprisingly. It technically had the same range as the arm, but it was hitting less. Now the katana has a little less range than the arm, but it was so minor and I had to test this one heaps. Though the katana does have slightly more range than the upgraded stick, it's so small it's not funny. And the upgraded stick also has more range than the tennis racket, but once again, so small that it's ridiculous. The next one after the tennis racket is the leg. It has a fair bit less range than the tennis racket, though I can't imagine be using the arm or leg in a combat situation. You'd think a leg would have more range than an arm. The modern axe has a fair bit less range than the leg. It wasn't hitting at all. Though as for the modern axe versus a rusty axe, this was the only footage out of the 4 tests I did that I could actually compare it. The range was so similar that it was unbelievable. This was one of the worst to compare against. It took forever. Now I had to put the chainsaw in here. It was at the end of the day. I totally forgot to test it. The chainsaw does have less range than the modern axe by a fair bit, so this means it would have less range than the rusty axe as well. But it's very minor. Surprisingly, the chainsaw does have very good range, though the chainsaw actually moves backward and forwards when you're using it, so the range actually changes as you're using it. I wouldn't have thought the chainsaw would have had that much range, personally, but the chainsaw does have more range than the plain axe. The plain axe range is actually quite a lot shorter than the chainsaw, modern axe and rusty axe. Makes sense as it's pretty short, though I would have thought the crafted axe would have more range because it appears to be longer, but the crafted axe actually has less range than the plain axe, and it was by a fair bit too. Then again, the crafted axe is probably one of the worst weapons in the game. I think so anyway. It swings that slow that it's just not viable. Like cutting down trees with the crafted axe is just, it's insanely frustrating. But anyway, now the club has less range than the crafted axe. And that's not the crafted club, that's just a normal club. But it's very small. Though the club does have more range than the crafted club, but not by much. It's a shame because the crafted club's actually quite a good weapon. It's just more of an incentive as to use the modern axe in my opinion. Now the next one is the bone. Now the bone does have more range than the turtle shell. I originally got caught up with that one, I wasn't sure, but yeah, it does have more range. The climbing axe has less range than the turtle shell and bone. It wasn't hitting as frequently, at the same range. Though the rock climbing axe does have more range than the machete. The machete is severely lacking in the range department. Insane amounts. I had to get closer and closer and closer. I had to take so many steps forward before I was even touching it. So yes, the machete has severely less range than the rock climbing axe. I can't believe how short its range is. It's insane how short it is. It's that bad that they really do need to fix it. And I'm pretty sure the machete upgrades don't work as of patch 0.66. So yes, it's a weapon I love to hate. Now, saving grace of the machete is that there is 3 weapons that have less range than the machete. And the first one is a repair tool. Its range is only slightly less, though you're better off using the repair tool to get sticks or leaves, as the ranges are so similar, and the repair tool doesn't use any stamina. The upgraded rock has shorter range than the repair tool, and by quite a fair bit too. The rock has terrible range. You almost have to be touching the pole for it to be able to hit. It does do really good damage, especially with glass upgrades though. And I have a feeling this has a lot of benefits when it comes to sneak attacks. But the last weapon, if you class it as a weapon, is a skull. Its range is awful. I don't really know why I tested this one. I thought there's got to be something shorter than the upgraded rock. But yes, that's all the weapons tested. Here's a table of how I have ranked them though. Basically, how I've done it is 0.1. 0.1 of a difference is very minor, like impossible to notice almost. 0.2 of a point means that it's very short, but it is noticeable. 0.3 means that it is noticeable. And 0.4 of a point means it's very noticeable, and 0.5 means extremely noticeable. I didn't know how else I could rank them. I thought this was the best way. But if you have any suggestions, I would love to hear them. I would really appreciate it. Mass is not my strength. And if you like this video, make sure you like and subscribe. Cheers.